All right, everyone, it is time for another Advanced Tactics, an army I've been working on for a bit along with the Battle Brothers, but I want to talk about Human Defense Force. I rated them as sort of a C tier army, and I sort of don't think Human Defense Force is that bad of an army. I think my view is you can make a pretty competitive list with this army. It's just a lot of the models that's required to do people don't have, and so I think people feel the army to be a little weaker than it actually is, and that's because to play it competitively you sort of have to like avoid a lot of the armies. Like, you don't play Human Defense Force like you would think they're played in what we consider to be like Games Workshop or Imperial Guard. So one of the things that when I'm working on it, I don't want to split this into two parts because I don't think there is enough to cover. I'm just going to talk about a few things in the army here. So with that in mind, let's just get onto it. First thing I would ask, hey, like, subscribe, and comment. I'm on the road to 1,000 subscribers. It'd really help out if you could, comment and like, but especially subscribe, so that I can kind of get that support from YouTube. So let's just get into it. I do feel this army. Okay, well, let's just get into the assumptions. So as always, I'll run through these real fast. I'm always talking about competing against other competitively balanced armies. So this is a competitive analysis. So I'm not really interested in talking about casual games. If that's what you're looking for, it's probably this probably isn't for you. I'm always thinking about this in terms of like a 5 or 6 game GT, somewhere around 3,000 points. I imagine it to be. I've discussed that enough. And generally speaking, I'm talking about no allies here. So what's the criteria that I tend to judge these by? I do know that 3.4 is coming out and there's supposedly going to be changes. I don't know what those changes are, so I'll just base it on what we have now, and maybe that changes in 3.4. All right, but we always talk about flexibility or one strong playstyle, raw efficiency, a good spell list, impactful elites, cheap chaff, multiple meaningful upgrades, Caster 3 and Advanced Tactics, access to Scout and Ambush, access to lots of AP4, easy access, and also just being undead is a very powerful ability. So how does Human Defense Force sort of align themselves here? One, they are not very flexible, but they have like one strong playstyle, I think. They are pretty efficient. I think that you can do a lot with their units, sort of to avoid a lot of the really egregious hybrid taxes. They don't have like really impactful elites, but they do have some really good chaff options. They do have some pretty good upgrades that I think are meaningful when we talk about the +1 AP and the +1 to hit. They don't have cast 3, but so they're one of these unique armies. They only have caster 2, but they have a very good level 1 spell. So it sort of balances that out. Their level 1 spell, which is just a +1 to hit for anything in shooting, is just extremely good. So it sort of is a bit of what's the word? It's a bit of a unique situation here. They don't really have, I think, any meaningful access to Scout and Ambush. That's really going to matter. They don't really have a lot of easy access to AP4. They have some, but it's sort of, they're not that sort of consistent army that we talk about, right? Without those impactful elites, it's very much sort of a combination and buffing army. And of course, they're not undead. They have like some morale mitigation, but I think it's a little clunky sometimes in how it works. All right. So with that in mind, I'm just going to go straight into my redesign here. There's a few things going on in my redesign. One, I've reworked how tanks work. I've added them with slow. I think that this is going to make them a little more efficient. People want to play tanks, and I think that Human Defense Force tanks should be very good, but I also think that they should sort of serve a specific long-range support role. I've played games where people have played their tanks, and then on the last turn sort of ran up 16 inches. I sort of feel that I imagine Human Defense Force playing a little more of a grindy where they're slowly moving up those tanks and shooting. So I did give them slow. I think it helps. I've also added some short-ranged units. One, I've given them... So the big problem with Human Defense Force is they don't have any real close range or short-ranged options. They have basically ogres. If you want to run a competitive list, you have to run a lot of ogres. And, a lot of people don't have ogres. So I've tried to add some short-ranged options that I think are also meaningful within the GW context. We're going to talk about people who are running like maybe riot guards, I think that we would call. So that's something we're going to look into. I've added some upgrades to provide some flavor and to also just buff the army. I think I want to treat Human Defense Force a lot like I did Vanilla Battle Brothers, where I want their leaders to have multiple upgrades and really be sort of these buffers, so I like trying to add a lot of stock into their leaders. I've added, so a few more upgrades that I think is going to help them. I've also modified some of the weapons. One thing I have done is I've lowered the AP on some of the weapons, but I've also lowered the range on some of their indirect weapons. They've got a lot of long range indirect weapons that I think is... I think the indirect could have a little more playability if you bring it, and plus a little more of a counterplay if you can bring some of those indirect weapons down to 30 inches rather than 36 inches. Another thing I've done is just synchronize some of the vehicle upgrades. So one of the things that I do have a problem with the current Human Defense Force list is that it basically almost verbatim matches the weapon upgrades of Games Workshop equivalents. And I don't think that's in the spirit of one-page rules. I love the idea of supporting Games Workshop versions of the models, but also allowing a person to bring tanks that aren't just sort of matching. Like, I think some of the upgrades, if you look at the list, it's only basically the only upgrades you can make in the weapons are based on the GWs. So I've sort of broadened those upgrades to make them a little more synchronized with each other. And then afterwards, I'm going to go into a competitive list. All right, with that, let's get into the redesign. All right, so this is the Human Defense Force competitive redesign list. I've got it up there. We'll just go into this. A lot of this stuff I have... one thing I've tweaked some of the spells. I don't agree with the movement spell. I think that's just a general bad spell to have. But the +1 to hit for shoots and Protective Dome as basically a -1 to hit rolls are pretty good. I've instead given them a +2 AP on the hold action. Feels very powerful in the army, and it's just a very solid level 3 as well. So that's one. Let's get into the company leader. So one you're going to notice is that I've broken up, like I've done with a lot of these armies, where I have a kind of a leader model, and then I have a caster model that's sort of a dedicated caster. For the company leader, a lot like the Battle Brothers, I wanted this guy to be extremely flexible. So he's got a lot of different weapon options, even a sniper. But he's one of the few characters you can upgrade them with 2 upgrades. So I like this idea of making this guy very much a support character. It just feels in line with the army. I've added a few, like a field doctor, where he can give a unit regeneration, a double time and take aim are still there. I've also given private guard to peacekeepers. I think this is a nice touch that if he does want to buff up a unit, he can go a peacekeepers, which we'll get into. Given him an upgrade for a defense, stealth, and regeneration as well. So I think this company leader is just a really solid bet. He's very flexible, and I think this is his big selling point, getting 2 upgrades. He makes him very valuable too. It makes the enemy want to try to go after this guy. And I love that counterplay. I love the counterplay of having these powerful buffing characters that are sort of weak, so that you have to protect them, and the enemy has a real incentive to go after them. So that's that. I've done this as well. I have a dedicated master telepath who's got a caster true. He's got Aegis, and this is something I'm doing to a lot of captors, where I give them the ability to get resistance or Aegis, and then he's got a buff +1 caster upgrade as well. So the master telepath, you do get caster, but he's sort of very focused on that thing. Let's get into the units. The conscripts, I have knocked them down to light rifles. It's going to help on the points a little bit, but also just I think that just works a little better, giving them a little bit of a light rifle. The Peacekeeper, so this is a new unit that I wanted to add in. We would consider these guys to be, effectively sort of riot guards, where they've got some stun batons. They're not great in combat, but they are decent, with a taser. I've also given them a defensive upgrade where they can get a flashbang grenades, where they can basically make 2 inches a -1. They're sort of like a hammer, like an anvil unit that can sort of tank some stuff as well. But you can also beef them up with the private guard. So I think peacekeepers, one of the things human defense force need is they need humans that can basically sort of move up and have an ability, like just with all their guns only being rifles. I think it makes them a very difficult unit to sort of move up onto the center. So peacekeepers are a nice addition. The standard infantry unit, I think, has pretty much remained very similar. It's a solid unit. Steel keeps up to 2. I haven't changed a lot with this. This is a solid. It's a solid unit. The standard infantry squad is really good. The weapons team I've kept at the same. I've just given the ability to add a relentless. I think the weapons team needs to have relentless. Every other army, their supports have relentless, so I do give them an option to upgrade to relentless. I think that's fair, especially at quality 5. With quality 5, you're really stuck to only a heavy machine gun, where now you can bring these missile launchers and last cannons and make them worth their time. So the heavy weapons team's just upgraded there. Let's get into the veterans team. And the veterans team, I've changed some minor things. They've got that. I've given them a demo charge as well. Again, just a little bit of a hand-to-hand upgrade. Where they can. The other thing I've given them is on the veteran team, I've given them a shotgun upgrade, where actually these guys can go in. They now have a close range weapon. They can go a shotgun, or they can go a shred rifle as well. So now this is a really dedicated unit that I think with a shotgun, it's allowing them to just have a little bit of a close ranged weapon that I like with veterans. I think the shotgun is really useful on them. They've got the weapon upgrade. This is also very similar. And I've also given them a demo charge as well that I think is just a nice little touch. Give them a little more frontline abilities. So Stormtroopers, I've also given them a little less upgrade. You can give them a shotgun, which I think is good, and a demo charge. Also, one of the few things actually just giving them a +1 to hit as well. So the Stormtroopers don't have some of the weapon upgrades of perhaps the veteran squad, but they have different upgrades where you can go for shooty or fearless. The furious on the demo charge would be really interesting. So the Stormtroopers are much more limited in their weapons, but they're also much more better in the abilities they get with Strider and Ambush and Cyber. They're just, I wanted the Stormtroopers and the veteran squad to be very different squads. So that's something that I'm thinking about as well. Making this unit less on the upgrades, but more, like less on the weapon upgrades, but more powerful on the actual upgrades. Another thing I've added here, similar to Battle Brothers, I've given them a command squad. Now, I know the command squad you would think have veteran. I just don't feel, this goes back to even Battle Brothers, I don't feel that veteran infantry should be a required upgrade. I always feel that veteran infantry should just be optional. So that's something to keep in mind. The command squad is only 55 points. The big thing it has also, it's got the ability to have 2 models with one of these upgrades. So this is very similar to the commander, where you can have this 3-man or 6-man squad that can actually be pushing out a lot of upgrades, but is also relatively squishy. You can give them Def 4. But they're not very much, you can give them some good weapon options, but the real power of this squad is actually just in their upgrade and their sort of their buffing capability. So I do like the veterans. At the same time, they're pretty squishy. There's only 3 guys that start off with a base 5 armor. The specialist squads are pretty much the same. There's nothing really changed here. I think tweak some of the weapons, I believe, but all in all, the specialists work very well. The sniper squad, one of the things that I'm doing in all armies is giving warning cry, giving a white. I think that all armies should have 1 unit or 2 units that have warning cry. And so the sniper squad is a great thing. It makes them a little more useful. I've knocked down some of the defense on them. I just feel that's about right. And also just giving them the ability to have warning cry makes them pretty useful. The ogre squad has pretty much stayed very similarly. I haven't changed a lot with ogres. I think ogres are really solid. There's not like a really to say about ogres. Ogres are a great squad as well. The cavalry squad, one thing I've done is I, of course, knocked out their pistols. Pistols when I want optional upgrade. The other thing, I have given them a demo charge, and I've also given them the ability to get a fearless upgrade. That's just about it. I've given some of the fearless upgrades, I believe, to like the veteran squad. Or is it on the stormtroopers as well? Yeah, the fearless upgrade. So I have given a couple of squads fearless, but just a very few squads. So the cavalry squad I think would be really cool. Get this demo charge as well. Just it's now I think a really useful squad at 70 with a demo charge. You know you can put an anti-tank. Like this is actually a squad that can do some damage in hand to hand. So there is your cavalry squad. So let's get into the vehicle. So we've got the standard armored truck. The attack vehicles I have lowered the defense to a 3 up on them. I think that feels about right. It's really only the Battle Brothers that have kept some of their smaller trucks at Def 2. So the armored truck, very similar upgrades. I have, like I said, I've tweaked some of the range on some of these, but generally this armored truck and the attack vehicle hasn't changed too much. There's not a lot that's changed in here, so I won't go into those too much in detail. Same thing with the Light Walker. I've actually just knocked out the Fear 1 on it, and I've given the Light Walker a Warning Cry upgrade. I think that's, again, a really nice touch. Gives it, like, it's a very useful ability to have. Warning Cry on this Light Walker. The Light APC as well, not much has changed. It's pretty much where it is right now, other than the -1 defense. Let's get into the tanks. The tanks are a bit of a change that I think is going to help the army out a lot. One, I've given them slow. That is going to lower the points on the tanks, but it's also going to make them a lot more specialized. They really are getting turned into sort of dedicated long-range support that's going to sort of slowly move up. So I like that. I want these tanks to be a little better at shooting the other armies, and that's where that slow comes in, while also having that general disadvantage. Some of these things are just generally the same upgrades with double time. I haven't changed a lot. I have on these upgrades, I've changed some of the weapons. I've lowered some of the weapons regarding like the indirect on the siege cannon and such. The other thing I've done is I've also tried to make some of these weapons work more well. So like for instance, the Twin Flamer, you can also give it things like a shred gun now. So I have made it, I've given these tanks more options where you can actually run some upgrades that are a lot more specialized. For instance, one, I've given them a shred cannon as an upgrade and not just stuck with the laser cannon. So the standard battle tank I think is super solid now, especially just with some tweaks to the upgrades. You can really arm these things a lot more specifically as you need it, rather than just being sort of pigeonholed into the Games Workshop variant. All right, the heavy tank, I've done something similar, slow. I have tweaked a few things on the weapons, but generally speaking, I've also given the ability to just get a few more weapons so that it can kind of max out on that tough 15. The super heavy battle tank, same thing. Tweaked some of the range on the weapons, like the siege mortar, but generally speaking, with the slow, that's bringing this tank a little more reasonably priced. The other thing, I've moved out the transport. 21 as just an upgrade. The support vehicle, very similar. I've just lowered the def on the support vehicle. I think that's being very fair. The field artillery, I've also lowered the def on that. And just, again, very similar upgrades. And the gunships have generally stayed very similar other than just a -1 def. I like aircraft generally with the lower def. Aircraft feel very... When I played against aircraft at Armor 2, I feel like you just can't interact with them because there's just so much of a disincentive to shoot at an aircraft with the Armor 2 and the -1 to hit and the range. It's just, I feel like giving them a Def 3, now there's just a little bit more of a reason for people to actually engage with these models here. All right, so in the heavy gunship, same thing, lowered it down, tweaked some of the upgrades as well. But generally speaking, the upgrade haven't changed. So as you can see here, the custom army, it's really more about tweaks and adding in a few key units. These peacekeepers, I think, are going to really just help out on the hand-to-hand front to push forward. The weapons team's getting a minor change. The veteran squad and the stormtroopers feeling very differentiated now, while also getting a shotgun variant. The command squad, I think, is also going to give some options, tweaks to the cavalry squad, and the ability to have with the sniper squad and the light walker. I feel this way. Every armory should have a warning cry. It just makes sense that every army would have a unit that can sort of be a scout and be a warning cry. So it makes sense that every army in Grimdark Future should have a warning cry option. So it's really, this army, I think, is going to do a lot better with just some little tweaks here and there. So let's just get into a competitive list. All right, so let's look at a competitive list now. One of the things that I go into it, I want the ability for. I love the idea of this army trying to synchronize with one another. I want this army to play a lot more similar to how Human Empire plays in Age of Fantasy, where there's a lot more of a buffing going on. No unit is like specifically terrific on their own. Everyone unit sort of has its place, and you've got these command leaders who can sort of do a lot. So one thing, I've got a command leader. I've just put take aim on him with just the pistol. And then I've got a Master Telepath with a Caster 3, so he's also that little bit of a flexibility. 2 Conscript squads for chaff. I've got a 20-man unit of Peacekeepers. This is a really solid squad that just can push up. It's got that shield wall. We've got these stun batons. For 220 points, it's not a great squad, but it's a good squad. It's got some bodies. You can put them in cover. That's going to be Def 3. A really good squad could push forward. We then just have a standard infantry squad that I've given medical training and a company standard, so some morale mitigation there. I've upgraded them with some shred rifles. I think that's really good for quality 5 to get a lot of shred rifles. It's also good to have some rending in there. Giving them 2 mortars as well. So they're sort of a mid-range squad, right? They can play back with their mortars, but they can also, so they're sort of my main flexible squad as well. Got a weapons team that I've just given a combined unit of 6 last cannons with Relentless. 320 points. This is really where a lot of my anti-vehicle, anti-armor, anti-monster is going to come in, where I'm shooting 6 last cannons with Relentless. Got a specialist team that I have with Flamers, just really solid on them. Well, so I have these 2 combined units that I try to have the chaff to guard them. I've got a combined unit of ogres that I've just kept them with a heavy. This is the ogres are sort of a hammer and anvil in that they're kind of do a lot, but they're, again, a good squad that can push up. I've got a 10-man cavalry squad with some demo charges and anti-tank. So again, I've got a little bit of I've got some deadly and limited and AP3 in there with that squad. So I think that's a really solid squad now that I've given them, yeah. And then we've got the Light Walker that I have Warning Cry on. I think just Warning Cry is super solid. The Light Walker is really solid. I've got a battle tank. So now I have a battle tank and a super heavy battle tank. And a heavy battle tank. The battle tank's got double time. It's really solid. And here I've made the battle tank I've made as a dedicated sort of anti-armor. You've got your battle cannon, but you've also just got a lot of last cannons coming at people. You've also got the heavy battle tank. This is a little bit more of a anti-chaff. So you can see I've got my deadly and I've got my blast in there with some machine guns. So these 2 tanks are both really useful for giving them the ability to just, with the company leader and the master telepath, giving these units +1 to hit as well. It's like I said, it's a very much a combined arms army that I this is how I imagine Human Defense Force playing. We have like all these different squads that you can sort of mix and match, but everyone sort of has their specialized purpose. So yeah, that's my version of Human Defense Force as well. Hey, thanks for watching. Let me know. I want to, as always, say these lists, they probably are going to change in the future. I get feedback on all these lists. I always make changes. These I consider to be rough drafts. But I hope this can sort of help Human Defense Force sort of move forward. Hey, like, subscribe, and comment. Send me your custom armies. I'd love to, if you want me to review your stuff. I'd love to do some videos in the future where people I can just review some custom armies from people. So that's something I'm considering as well. Hey, thanks a lot.